Fear. It has lived with us since the beginning. The fear of failing, the fear of rejection, the fear of not being enough. And today, it still whispers in your ear. It tells you to wait, to hold back, to stay small. But every time you listen, your life shrinks. You trade dreams for comfort, potential for safety, greatness for mediocrity. There were people who refused to live this way. The Spartans, a society built on discipline, honor, and duty. They believed fear could not be erased, only mastered. And among them was one man who began not as a warrior, but as an outsider. His name was Amyklas. Through failure, struggle, and brutal training, he discovered a method so powerful that it forged him into a citizen, a warrior, and a man of unbreakable discipline. This is the Spartan Method. Learn it and fear will no longer rule your life. Part 1. The Valley of Comfort. Amyklas did not originate from Sparta. He wasn't born among the warriors. He grew up in a wealthy valley, a land of serenity, of safety, of routine. The men tilled the land. The females ran the households. Life was predictable, life was consistent. But for Amyklas, it suffocated too. He had terror in him since childhood. Fear of failure, fear of shame, fear of showing weakness. And because his village was temperate, that panic was never attempted. When it stormed, he went inside. When arguments increased, he remained quiet. When challenges arose, he shunned them. He kept in hiding, but in solely understood. This was not to live, it was hiding. Part 2. Thrown into Sparta. One winter, the villagers exiled him to Sparta. Of necessity, though not by free choice, the city sought young men, and Amyklas, though timid, was chosen. He would enter a world unlike anything he'd known. At Sparta, the boys were taken from them at the age of 7 and consigned to the agoge, a brutal system of punishment and endurance training. They lived in barracks under scant rations and were indoctrinated in surviving from hunger and from torment. They exercised barefoot in rocky terrain. They battled each other with wood and iron until the bodies became bruised, and they were instructed in quiet, laconic speech, few words, hard labor. Amyklas came into being late, like an alien, and unprepared. Part 3. The Weight of Failure. The early mornings finished him, spoiled the grass. The glass cut the air. The others marched with confidence, their voices strong, their strikes precise. Amyklas tried to keep up, but his grip slipped, his stance faltered. Punches fell weakly, tentatively. The instructor's eyes narrowed. The rest taunted. He vomited at the black broth that the Spartans drank daily, a mixture of pig's blood, vinegar and salt. They mockery at his frailty. At dusk, while the others were asleep on dung reeds, Amyklas woke up. Fear leaned against his chest like a burden, and he whispered, "Maybe I don't belong here. Maybe I will never be enough." Part 4. The 3 Principles of the Spartans. The days grew harsher, more advanced drills. One morning, Amyklas' body gave in. He dropped to the floor. His fellows walked on him. Some shook their heads, and fear whispered, "Quit, you will never be enough." Restless and broken, Amyklas found his way into a tiny quiet room, a tiny scroll library, rarely touched. There, in the dust, he found the works of subsequent men, Xenophon and Plutarch, that inscribed the maxims of Sparta. He unrolled a parchment, the first maxim, "Return with your shield or upon it." A Spartan mother to her son, discipline and contempt for the fear of death. Amyklas stopped. He thought of his mother in the valley again. She comforted him always, but Spartan mothers wanted something more brutal. Return victorious, or return dead, never return in shame. Amyklas experienced terror searing in his breast. He feared death. He feared failure, but shame, that cut deeper. And he knew you cannot escape fear, you have to confront it, discipline before retreat. The second maxim, Xenophon, Short words and hard deeds are more important than empty rhetoric. Amyklas thought of the many plaids that he had given himself. I'll try harder tomorrow. I'll be stronger next time. But they were lies, excuses, noise. The Spartans didn't do with the tongue, or action. And Amyklas whispered, no more excuses. From now on, deeds. The third maxim, Plutarch. Spartans thought that the fear is eliminated by honor and loyalty to the polis. Until now, Amyklas thought only of himself, his shame, his weakness, his fear. But perhaps he existed for something greater, for the men around him, for the ones he served, for honor that survived him. Then fear would shrink. Responsibility would strengthen him. Part 5. The Trial. Weeks later, his test came. Amyklas competed against one of the strongest, a big boy who taunted him often. The crowd gathered. Combat began. Fear struck first. Amyklas stumbled. He nearly fell, but the principles rang in his mind. Bring back your shield, or on it. There was no retreat, short words, hard work. Excuses wouldn't work either. Honor and duty. He weighed more than he did now. He rose. The savage war. He was struck, bruised, bloodied, but he endured. He countered, stand up. Not that terror had disappeared, but for discipline, action and duty bored him on. When it finished, Amyklas had scars, but also evidence. Part 6. The birth of a citizen warrior. From that day onwards, Amyklas no longer felt like an outsider. He became a brother of Sparta. He dined in the Syssitia, the public mess, where the warriors feasted on plain food. He trained barefoot among the rocks until his skin became hardened. He became a man of plain talk and left action to outline him. And first of all, he discovered that courage wasn't born from fearlessness, but from discipline. Amyklas became not only a warrior, but a citizen of Sparta, citizen of the city-state, distinguished fighter. Part 7. Reflection for today. You may not live in Sparta. Do not sleep on reeds or on black broth. Your fears are no less real. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. And like Amyklas, you face the same choice. Will you be controlled by the fear, or you will wake up each morning with discipline, with action, with purpose? Since discipline is like this today, waking up at an early hour, although you'd rather sleep in, finishing the work you've been avoiding, speaking the truth when silence feels easier, doing the hard thing every day. Fear will never vanish. It will always be there, waiting, but through discipline, through deeds, not words, by something more than you. You don't just feel scared. You master it. You overcome it, make it strength. Amyklas discovered that on his journeys. He came into Sparta a stranger. He became a citizen, a soldier, a man of integrity. This is the Spartan Method. And now, it's your turn.